Hope everyone had a good weekend. I know I did. Nice long one after I had 4 weeks off before that anyway, so it's been good. We've got a few birthdays that have happened. Madison turned 24 on Monday, just gone. Hey, Maddie. And Nick, who I haven't seen yet this morning, is turning 29 on Sunday coming up. So, sad birthday to him when you see him as well. Update on the next week's work, this week's work, sorry. So we've got some prep for the Mulberry Plate coming up, which is starting the following week. And there's some poles going out for the Madam project as well, which is also starting next week. There's some poles down by the beach. We've got some LV, HV maintenance as well. That's up in the hills and a bit in Salisbury and Elizabeth Way. Tree cutting, a bit of G&B. And then we've got Friday training as well, so if you're not aware, we've got some CPR and the first aid CSI thing as well. And I believe there was a couple of people who had some bits in between, so make sure you have a look at your phones if you've got anything this week, today or tomorrow. Temperature, high 20s and low 30s, so it's still going to be warm. Make sure you take plenty of water, put your sunscreen on, protect yourself. Update on the switching toolbox. So Nick isn't here, so I haven't got any of their stuff that they go through at their morning toolbox. But there's been 0 incidents last week, which brings us to 37 days since our last switching incident. So we're getting that, slowly getting the numbers back up after that little one that happened just after Christmas, just before Christmas. There are 2 alerts to go through as well. So first alert happened at the beginning of the year. There was some unplanned switching to carry out a broken seizing clamp up at Allendale East Congarong feeder. Really sure. Congarong feeder. Blanche substation. I'm not sure where that is, unfortunately. During the isolation of the work area, we thought that the network beyond was fully radial and additional switching points were not required. However, it was decided to install main earths either side of the work position as a precaution. The HVC was unable to confirm the network was radial on the NOM, as the tracing tool does not function on de-energised sections of the model, which I didn't know about. I'm not sure if you know what the tracing tool is. It allows them to see where it's fed from on the NOM to go both directions. So they've been unable to trace it on a de-energised section of the line. Upon completion of the isolation, switching, which restored supply to the Congarong substation, it was identified that an open point between an energised 11 kV feeder and a de-energised 11 kV feeder beyond the work area had been missed, and the formal limit of isolation had not been established. So there was definitely a potential for backfeed coming through there, and it was lucky that they put the 2 sets of earth up if something did happen. Alright, so I'm not sure why feeder plans weren't used. They might not have it on them at the time, but it's very lucky in that occasion. So crews were contacted to be made aware once they had completed the repairs, and then switching was restored to the line to normal continue without any further incident. So there was no injury to personnel or any damage to the plant, but it highlights the importance of thoroughly checking the network for all potential sources of infeeding. So that includes your briefs and even when you're out on the site. The next one, so this is a bulletin regarding a model dressing trial, and it is to do with issuing network access permits. So I believe at the moment there are model dress items to show on the NOM about issuing a network access permit and adding a work tag for when you give that permit to the civil crew or whoever you're giving it to at the time. They're going to try and incorporate that as part of the switching item. It is a trial, so your switching sheet will look a little different. It won't have a model dress part of it. The item will read to place the CB into non-auto by supervisory, and they're going to add a work tag and a network access permit tag as part of that item. So it'll just look a little bit different, a bit more information in the one item. All right. I believe they've already started that trial as well. Alright, so when we start getting ones like that, it'll start looking a bit different. Any questions on that, Will? No? Alright. We got one DS incident that was reported by Nick Smith, and it was to do with civil contractors excavating and had hit a water asset, I believe. So it happened, I didn't say when it happened, reported last week. While installing a new footing, a civil contractor had hit a water pipeline, recycled water. It was approximately 2.2 metres down. So the pipe wasn't listed in the dial for the digs, so they weren't aware that it was there. The water was isolated by the asset owners and they came out and repaired it. So again, potholing, have someone there observing while they're digging down any excavations. There's always stuff in the ground that you're not going to know about, abandoned assets and stuff as well. So.
You said that was recycled water?
Recycled water, yes.
Down that far?
2.2 it said. Yeah, sometimes there's built up areas. I think we had a road built on top of a road down at Henley Beach. The existing footing was real deep. So you don't know what the condition is. Make sure you have someone there watching while they're digging. General depot stuff. So this Friday, we asked that you put your fire extinguishers and first aid kits out the front of your truck on Thursday night, because they're going to get tested on Friday. You won't need them Friday because we've got our training all in the morning. So get it all out Thursday night. Have plenty of trucks ready to go straight away Friday, so we're not chasing it up. We'll be straight into training. Cool. Cobbs, if you wanted to go over the shared vehicles.
Yep. So, firstly, let's see someone else pull in the car park. 7 o'clock's the start time. There's a couple of guys in here late. Toolbox starts at 7, so that's the standard that we set. The other standard, it's a year since I sent that letter out about tools and equipment and the care of, and the improvement in that, as everyone knows, it's been really good. Same with the EWPs, there's been a focus on that, and there's some people that obviously didn't need that because they look after their trucks and their equipment really well. So that's great. Some people needed a kick up the arse. Our shared vehicles, our tippers, cranes, that's not going so well. Nick, before Christmas, we went through everything that's got a crane on it, set them up with the right amount of slings, the right amount of shackles, all the lifting gear. And I went out there last week and he was clearing shit out of one of the tippers of the cab that he shouldn't have had to do. Just rubbish. And he said, that's pretty standard. And he said one of the cranes has got no lifting gear on it at all. None. So someone's just grabbing it because it's easy for them and makes it hard for everyone else. We're just making it hard for ourselves. So the standard for the shared vehicles is no different to the standard for your own EWP or your own personal car. Expect that when you finish with it at the end of the day, that the equipment that should be on there is on there. If anything is not working or broken, it's reported, and that there's no shit in the cab. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So I'll be keeping an eye on that, and it's pretty easy through e-kiosk to see who's been driving them last. So we'll have a pretty firm chat. Someone leaves it in a state that it should be.
Cool. And on that as well, I've had some reports from a few people of tools missing on their own trucks. If you are borrowing tools off someone else's truck, you need to leave a note, send a message. I've had to send messages to guys before as well. It's the easiest way to keep track of it. It's a quick message, it doesn't get lost, it's on their phone, and return it. If you're not returning tools, we're going to have to escalate it. You're going to be in a meeting with cops or Darryl Gold because it's just not good enough. People's tools still go missing as well.
They should all be identified.
Yeah. So
I don't know if we've got the identification out the back completely right yet, or on the list somewhere so people can go and see. I've got a red ring spanner on my vehicle that's not mine, who's red. I don't know if we've quite got that right yet. Make it easy for them.
And Tom's told me end of last week that someone thrown the air brake handle off his truck and hasn't put it back. That's probably even worse than tools because you'll go out and go to open an air brake on a switching sheet and you won't have the right equipment. So that's another thing.
Yeah, we're just making progress. I forgot to mention that Shane, in between trainings, head down bum up and bloody cleaned up one of the tippers like brand new, so well done for that without any prompting, so that was good. But yeah, they should be left in the mistake, but they don't need that spring clean.
Alright, next up, I've had one sent in from Evan. So he had an email from the customer communities manager, I believe it is, and it's in regards to a job down at Christie's Beach. I believe Tim Page is handling. It looks like it was planned for a Saturday, and they had to contact contact some media outlets, as a lot of people were informed that the power was going out, but it wasn't, and Tim Page has handled it really well, contacting all sorts of people to get through it. So I'm not sure what the job was, but I believe that there was a lot involved with a lot of people being notified incorrectly. So very responsive, and it was much appreciated by the customer communications team. There's a thank you from Alan Green as well, and specifically to everyone in general really. He's had a few people, some civil companies come through and pick some stuff up, and just walking through the yard, they've noticed that it's really tidy, and they've noted it compared to other depots. So it's a great effort from everyone. Keep it up. When you're walking around, if you see something on the floor, take a few seconds, pick it up, take it to a bin. There's bins at all entrances. Alright, we'll keep the place looking neat. There was a specific mention to Rob Patterson, who took the time out last Thursday to tidy up the whole smoking areas there, swept it all up, all the cigarette butts. Took a bit of pride in the area, so it's a great example of what everyone should do. Take a bit of pride in the area, walk past something, alright? But even behind your trucks, you know, you've got some spare time, take the time to clean it up, take some pride in your area. And if you've got someone next to you who's left a mess, give them some crap, get them to tidy their own area up, alright? I've got one that I want to pass around. I left the store plug on my desk, so I'll send the e-drawing around either way. Something that was brought to my attention, I'm not sure how aware everyone else is, but there is a store plug that is for a 4x150mm XLB cable. When it comes up the pole and is connected to overhead mains, it needs to have this store plug installed anytime it's going to be connected to overhead mains. It's got a lug on it going to the back of isolators, all good, but if it's going straight to the mains, it's required to have this store plug installed, and then the PG gets crimped onto the store plug.
I think it would show a heat shrink there as well.
Yes, and a heat shrink over the store plug.
That's been happening for a few
So
years.
you can't PG the mains straight to the overhead mains. It needs a store plug on the end. So every time it's going overhead, the neutral's going to need it every time. And if it's not going to isolate, it's going to be all the conductor. Alright, so if anyone wants to keep that, there's highlighted some bits, and I've got the stock item number highlighted on the back as well. And I'm going to get Alan to order a bunch of them, because I believe a lot of people won't be using them so far.
They're never in gear.
No, I didn't even know it was on there personally.
Yeah, that was
Since you have the big launches.
Yeah.
Since they took the big launches out, I have to use those.
We started using them about 3 years ago, you reckon? Yeah, 3 years ago.
They got used on the flat.
Yeah.
Riverhand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we started using them on Little Hampton as well, because that was also something that was brought up, because it's not something that
It's
is
just a silly cable, it's got
Yeah.
water getting down and stuff.
store plug, don't heat shrink.
So basically, it's just got to have something on the end with a heat shrink, even if it's going into a crow box. Alright, there's a couple other safety alerts which Sean's going to go over.
Yeah, I've got two here. They're both crushed finger injuries. So the first one was someone pushing a retractable vice back into the rear of the truck, and they've crushed their finger. And they just were able to unlatch the vice and pull it back out to release their finger, and it was not an identified pinch point. And yeah, it's being investigated, so probably result in a sticker or something getting put there as labelling it as a pinch point. But yeah,
the doors.
Yeah. Doesn't say anything about the actual injury sustained, but more just the identification of it as being a pinch point. And the other one was a truck door, parked close to a wall with not being able to open the door fully, and the person's put their hand in between the door and the cab, and it slammed closed, crushing their middle finger on their right hand, and yeah, that was sort of on the person, putting their hand within a pinch point, and yeah, they did all the right thing in advising everyone, works coordinator, and went to seek some treatment at a CHG clinic. So yeah, obviously there's a bit of an issue with people putting their hands where they shouldn't be, and just being conscious of areas that can catch your fingers, and yeah, keeping your fingers out of there, I guess.
Yeah, I know some of them seem silly as well, but there could be some more serious ones. If you see workmates standing between poles getting moved, just bring it up to them, tell them to get out of the way, potentially stop something happening. Alright, that's everything I've got on here, so have a good week, guys. Thanks for...
Just quickly, me and Des had an issue, brought it up on an Avon, with the compressor hose. Twice in one day, each end of the hose and the fitting, the hose blew off the fitting. Nothing serious happening, but yeah, just keep an eye on it. We've reattached all the connections, so just maybe check them before you use it. It was a hot day, so that had something to do with it as well. And the hose was pretty soft. But just be careful. Let's go pretty.
We put a hose clamp on that as well, will that help?
There's no room to put one on there. It's got a special fitting that grabs onto. I think it might have just been the fact that it was hot, and it was sitting in the sun. The hose just went real gummy and shot out. Yeah, probably look into another fitting for it maybe. It doesn't look like it bites down extremely tight on the end, but it bites down enough to stay on there.
Take it. Wait.
Alright, thanks guys. Cool. Have a good week.